Hello, it's Cryptolyze. I hope you are well this Monday, 4 December 2023. It is with pleasure that we meet again today when BTC is breaking the 41,000 and currently testing the 42,000 targets that we talked about just yesterday. And we still have a lot of news that we'll have to go over again. We will explain where the acceleration comes from, where we are in terms of news. It starts right away. As a reminder, you always have the possibility of having free access to the educational course, which is a 60-hour training worth €400, which allows you to learn blockchain, crypto, investment, analysis technique, trading, everything to become profitable. Through 130 videos, 400 pages of guides, quizzes to find out where you are in your progress, and all for free. To have access to this lifelong training, simply use the platform of one of our partners. Everything is explained in the comments and descriptions. We will start with the speech of the CEO of Binance, the new CEO of Binance, Richard Teng, who spoke to explain the $43 billion. Overall, I'm going very quickly. I invite you to read if you're interested. But Binance has evolved much too quickly, and has precisely failed in its ability to be able to provide compliance. And that is what is essential. Well, on that he is very light. Obviously, he explains that he has an NDA on precisely the deal that was carried out. That does not prevent the fact that, yes, we know that there were mistakes. We know that there had problems during the year 2018, 2019, 2020 related to expansion from Binance, but at the same time, time is a choice, and it is for also that CZ is currently stuck on American territory, awaiting his conviction if he ever gets one, and how long it will last. But what is certain is that it was a choice made. We continue in the news, still on Binance. The two big winners are clearly Coinbase and Bybit. So even if Bybit, we can no longer register there as French. Besides, in the comments you have all the platforms that I use. But hey, that doesn't stop. That we knew that Binance was going to lose market share, but the loss of market share is still very small. We are still above the 40, which is just impressive, despite what is happening, despite what happened, despite the departure of CZ. So that says a lot about the capacity at Binance to be able to maintain its leading position for years to come. On the other hand, we have a tension that is building over the fact that we have a desire in the USA to pass a crypto law at the end of the year, okay? It's really important. On this, Patrick McHenry explains that he absolutely wants to pass an anti-crypto law. Well, anti-crypto, everything is relative, but everything is, which serves the drastic regulation of crypto because it considers that it is truly a notion of national security. And that's still dangerous, so we'll have to be careful at the end of the year. And what is interesting is that we still have pressure being put in place at this time for crypto regulation at a time when we have a large ETF which should be validated Q1 2024. We then have KyberSwap, which was hacked for $48 million. We covered this extensively, across the board, on the daily. And currently, they are explaining to us that they perhaps have a solution to compensate the victims by tapping into KyberSwap's treasury. There is a plan being prepared. We will have communication on this if you have ever been impacted. In any case, I invite you to follow the KyberSwap Discord in which you will have all the information. And we continue with a quick look at this week's calendar. On Tuesday, we have the very important November PMIs on services. We have the JOLT report, also very important. The non-manufacturing PMIs, once again very important. Tuesday, big day. Then Wednesday, we have quite a few things. Thursday, the weekly registration, quite a few things. And Friday, we have the average monthly hourly wage for November, very important regarding inflation. And we have the rate of November unemployment, very important also, if it ever exceeds the 3.9 that it arrives in the 4.4142. I can tell you that we will have very bad at the level of the market, moreover at the level of the SPY 500, which begins in negative as usual. 70 chance of going in the opposite direction from the start of the candle at the start of the day, at the opening of the American market to its close, so that would mean that we would continue to go for the 4,640 for a fence above. In any case, it is super important to really close above this level to validate an upward trend. Okay, so here we are still on a rebound. If we do not break at this level, we will really be in a retest continuity before having a bearish continuity. And go and retest the lower parts, and there it will not be positive at all. In terms of oil, technically we also start in the negative, and with a bearish acceleration, which is relatively strong with here this month, where we can clearly see that we are in a bearish impulse following a retest to see if we will stabilize around 68 in all cases. For me, we are in a zone of big ranging between 84 and 66. Always important to keep an eye on it, because clearly from 1 month to the next, from 1 week to the next, we could have a reversal linked to inflation because of oil, and that will be really important. This end of the year is also heading towards the fact that we have a relaxation in the TLTs, which are the American bond rates in which we have a form of breathing which is important and which is expected by the main management falsehoods. Because as a reminder, a lot of people are stuck. A lot of people, when I say no one, it's the institution. Are stuck with American Treasury bonds, which are perhaps worth 20-30 less than their costs on the secondary market, and are forced to wait for the bond to expire to be able to recover their amounts with the remuneration coupon, and therefore inevitably we seek not to have a bank run during this time, because if we ever have to make a forced sale, there will inevitably be a problem. And what we will have to watch is always the 10 years. We discussed it in Saturday's video. I invite you to watch it if you want to have my general vision on the macro, and then on the BTC. BTC, we had an explosive start to the week. We can clearly see that we made a gap here, CME, which is rather positive. Big acceleration in which we went to almost retest the 42,000 on the CME. Totally, we went to retest the 42,000. On CME, which is rather positive, on the total index, we have not done the 42,000 necessarily. We are below 41,600, in which we are slowly approaching the top here of Terra Luna. A very, very important. We came back at the beginning of 2022, so we really had a high for a very long time. When we look at it, represents 581 days of waiting. So it's obviously long, it's not easy, it's difficult, contrary to what many think, saying that you were lucky to buy here. No, you weren't lucky. You held this whole part. You held all this part. You held all this part. And that's what, in fact, determines the holding. And this is what makes the strength of those who hold on for the long term and who are in a notion of investment and who have held precisely these peregrinations to be able to arrive in this period. Nevertheless, we will explain the bullish acceleration that we have had in recent days, in particular the big acceleration with the breaking of the 41,000. I admit that when we broke the 40,000, I entered a long position for acceleration. I explained it to you in particular in Sunday's video. I invite you to go watch it too, in which for me, if we broke the 40,000, we would have an acceleration at the level of the 42,000. So obviously I played on this acceleration because we had very little volume, because we have a lot of liquidation to get. And this was seen enormously at the level of Kingfisher, in which here we made a big acceleration. We liquidated a lot of people. We also see it at the level of order flow where we see the liquidation peak. The two big liquidation peaks. So we liquidated all those who shorted, and it's a huge short squeeze that we see here, all right? Very little change in the positions of top long traders. We can even see that it is starting to decrease, so we have a form of profit taking which has been continuous since the big acceleration. Very little open interest. We remain at an identical level. This means that we maintain the positions. Well, in any case, the identical volume of leverage in relation to longs, shorts, and the entire market, because that is the accumulation of longs and shorts. This is not because it goes up, that it's only long. No, not at all. It's the accumulation of the two. It's the accumulation of short levers and long levers that gives that. So that means that the market is as leveraged as the 1R December. So it does not change on that side, which is rather positive. It avoids having a very strong increase in levers, and therefore behind an amplification of movements, which can be both downward and upward there. For the moment we are in something which is rather constructed, but for me what bothers me is that the movement is always carried here by the perpetual. We can clearly see the aggressiveness of the perpetual. People enter here with very strong levers. We can clearly see the liquidations that are here, so it's logical. Can we continue to do this short squeeze? I want to say yes to you. Look, in fact, at all this liquidity, which is still there up to 52,000, which is the second target that I gave you this weekend, which for me can be achieved quite quickly, much more quickly than I thought, given, in fact, the aggressiveness of the shorters that we are currently seeing. If we continue to do short squeeze, that means that we will fuel the liquidations that already exist here, plus the liquidations that are being carried out with the perpetual here. This means that people are very aggressive in their position, and therefore large leverage also equals the risk of increasing the short squeeze very strongly. And once again, large leverage is in both directions the same. If we have a lot of people who put themselves long with high leverage and people reduce their shorts, this implies that we could have a reverse movement to go and retest. A fairly easy zone in which we necessarily have the gap is EBU. which will be a zone which will be very, very played and which will have to be monitored. There we can clearly see the break here in the circus that we had, break of the weekend, beginning, acceleration, and which is rather logical, and it is a movement which is rather perpetual. So I have the same time that tells you that it is a movement which could be characterized under an opening of the CME, and therefore on the institutional perpetual. It would even be rather logical to go hunting for what? Well, the shorters, and therefore look for the different targets that we have set here at the level of 42,900 on the CME, and look much higher at the top of the top formed by Terra Luna, before the crack, which is a zone very, very important, and which will also be excessively played. In any case, we have a really impressive end of the year. We have a really exciting start to the week. We will have to continue whether it is up or down, it doesn't matter. Volatility is very important to the market. We remember that cryptos are based on volatility. If we ever lose our volatility, that also implies that we lose our attractiveness at the level of traders, at the level of institutions, at the level of liquidity flows, and that is, what is important for cryptos? Keeping this volatility, which is the specific character of crypto. Anyway, I hope you liked this video. If so, don't forget to leave me a like and a comment. It always makes me very happy. And we meet at 13:30 to talk about Matic/Paul, Polygon's crypto, and it's at 13:30.